Actor Benedict Cumberbatch was on the Tavis Smiley show, and he was talking about the lack of diversity in the UK when it comes to the world of acting. And here's what he had to say. I think as far as colored actors go, it gets really different in the UK. And a lot of my friends have had more opportunities here in the US than in the UK, and that's something that needs to change. Something's gone wrong. We're not representative enough in our culture of different races, and that really does need to step up a pace. Okay.
He said colored people. What has he done?
So people were upset because he used colored instead of, you know, whatever, something else. People
Negro.
You can say people.
I'm pretty sure that's not it, though. I'm pretty sure. Okay.
So look, I'm just as ignorant, I guess, as Cumberbatch, because I didn't realize that you can't say that.
Yeah.
I've
Isn't it amazing how
actually
little
said it
people
before,
know? Yeah. So now he's in a particularly tight spot because he's from the UK. He can't say African American.
That's right. It's not,
Right?
He literally doesn't mean it.
It's possible that he has run out of words he can use.
And it's possible that he's not specifically referring to
Right. That's
black
what we thought.
people.
We thought maybe like he really meant, you know, it's funny because if he'd said people of color, he's fine.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
If he'd said people of color, he's fine. But he said color, and it's a little bit crazy that that's a distinction.
No, and look, so I'm actually a little split on it. So, look, first of all, everyone needs to calm down. It's okay to say black people. Like, I remember somebody, we just hired somebody here who happens to be black, and somebody's trying to describe her, and they're like, well, she's, and I know who it is, like, she wears glasses. She's about 5. I'm like, yeah, the black girl that just walked by. They're like, yeah, that's it.
The best example I have for this, I've said it before, but it's in boxing matches. And the announcers in boxing matches are terrified. It's a white guy fighting a black guy, right? And you know, it's boxing, and people who don't know boxing, you come in and you might watch the fight, and you're like, oh, who's fighting? You know, and they're like, oh, Smith and Jones. You're like, oh, well, they're tangled up together. Who's who? And you're like, well, Jones is wearing the dark blue trunks.
Yep.
And Smith is wearing the light blue trunks. Like, dude, Jones is black, Smith is white. Help a brother out. Like, it's okay. It's okay. I just want to know. Yeah.
But at the same time, I get why people say, hey, you know what? We don't use colored people anymore, and it's a little antiquated, and so let's just get beyond it. It's just a friendly reminder. It's not to say that this guy's a bad guy, like, oh, how dare you, you piece of shit, right? No, it's just say, look, it's obvious from your statement that you're trying to say the right thing and you're on the right side and we appreciate it, but we're using different language. Now you might say like, oh, you're nitpicking, right? But there's a lot of words we don't use anymore. We don't use Oriental anymore. We don't use Chinaman. We don't use Muslimin or Mohammedan, right? There's a ton of words we don't use. So it's okay for somebody to every once in a while come out and say, hey, I love you, brother, but now we say this instead of that.
I totally get what you're saying. At the same time, the conversation is now about, oh, he used colored instead of the content of what he said. And the content of what he said was great.
Yeah, right.
You know, it shows what a great person he is.
He's a thoughtful, forward-thinking person.
He's thoughtful. He's noticed a problem in the industry. He wants to address it. And instead of saying like, oh, this is great, and now we're like, okay, well, colored, is it antiquated? Can we still say this? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I want to give him a 100% pass just because I know that there was no ill will in anything he said.
Oh, and he was mortified. I mean, his statement after was.
Oh my God, I am totally sorry for that.
Totally sorry.
This led to like the most sincere apology of all time. All right, so let me read it to you. I'm devastated to have.
Don't be devastated. It's okay. It's going to be all right, Benedict. Just bring it down.
I'm devastated to have caused offense by using this outmoded terminology. I offer my sincere apologies. I make no excuse for my being an idiot and know the damage is done. What damage is done, though?
Yeah,
what damage is done? I can only hope this incident will highlight the need for correct usage of terminology that is accurate and inoffensive. And then later on, he continues calling himself an idiot. Just calm down. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. He's now changed his name. His new nickname, his middle name is now Mortified.
Yeah,
Benedict Mortified Cumberbatch. It's kind of a cool name.
I'm with Anna. I give him 100% pass. I don't even know that in England it has the same history. Like, we can't ignore the fact that colored sort of replaced Negro, and that there wasn't a time that was a word choice of racists who were trying not to use the N-word and were trying not to seem racist, because a long time after, when black became the accepted term, people went down south would still use colored, and no question they would use it pejoratively. That said, it's also used, like my favorite writer of all time, Elmore Leonard. In almost every book, he has a character say colored, and it conveys a very specific thing. If it's not an old school Southerner, if it's like a guy from Detroit, you're like, oh, that guy's somehow badass, right? And not racist. But I'm pretty sure Benedict Cumberbatch wasn't using it in that context. But he clearly didn't know.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to get me wrong. I give him 100% pass too. Obviously, he didn't mean anything bad by it. Look, my dad, when we used to play in the old days.
All the time.
What was the game we played?
The Parent Trap.
Parent Trap, where we quizzed them on pop culture, and we'd be like, okay, the guy in Training Day.
We were like, we'd say name 3 Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. And he would be like, oh, the one, you did the one with the colored guy. What one was that?
That's because he grew up in a different era when that was the perfectly acceptable thing to say. And it's the NAACP, is the National Association, and there's another A in there, of colored people. Advancement. Okay, for the advancement of colored people, right? So, so we get it, but what I'm doing is I'm also giving a pass to the guy saying, hey, I'm not judging you, but we just don't use that word in that way anymore.
Yeah,
see what I'm saying?
Totally. I get it. It's okay. And in fact, the people who were quoted in the story as being angry were barely even angry because they acknowledged the context of what he said.
Yeah, I don't even think they were angry.
They might have been angry at all. And so the funny thing is that these stories get out, and Anna did a great job, but not everybody will do that great job of presenting it. And it will say, people are outraged at Benedict Cumberbatch, and I'm not sure anyone is outraged at Benedict Cumberbatch. He may have literally apologized to no one, but his original sentiment was good, and his apology sentiment was also good, if overdone. Like, he gets a 200% pass.
Yeah.
It's official. Benedict Cumberbatch, TYT has pardoned you.
He's so not guilty, he can go ahead and say something racist now.
It's such a full pardon that you could even drop the mortified from your name.